music. Yes, you know what time it is. It is time for The Jump Off. I am your host, KODX Factor, and The Jump Off is presented to you as part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network. And all the guests that appear on this show and future shows are part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network as well. Thank you guys for joining us. It has been one crazy couple weeks. Now that E3 is officially in the books, it is done. We now look forward to next year. We now look forward to what is coming this fall that got revealed at the show. And some of the stuff that everybody got a chance to play and enjoy. A lot of alcohol was consumed. Just the whole 9 yards. E3 is in the books. Everybody's at home. All the press are back in their offices, back at home. So thank you guys for joining us. We hope you guys enjoyed our E3 wrap-up show last week. We kind of touched on all the press conferences that took place, some of the highs, some of the lows. There was a lot of lows. But this week, we've got a couple things we're going to touch on this week. The one thing I'm going to touch on this week, we're going to end the show with this, is I want to give out my games of the show. This is my personal opinion, folks. This is not like, some set in stone thing. If you don't agree with me, you don't agree with me. You don't have to bash anybody's opinions for games of the show. These are all personal opinions. Every site, every writer, every press person has their own opinion on games of the show. We're going to go through each publisher, or each conference anyway, and say what our game for those particular conferences was. We're going to look at our game of the show. And on top of that, we're going to look at our biggest surprise of the show and our biggest disappointment. And I will kind of explain a little bit as to why they are, what I rated them, and why I gave them that, that rating. But first, I wanted to talk about one thing that just broke, I think, less than about 24 hours ago. And if you've been online, you probably realize what is going on with the retail juggernaut Gamestop. Everybody knows what Gamestop is. Everybody has their own opinions on the matter. Everybody has their own opinions on the retail giant. But there are two facts that cannot be denied when we talk about GameStop. One, they're one of the leading stores. They're not the lead. I don't want to say they're the leading store now, because I think they have actually been surpassed. But they were the leading video game company in the world. There seems to have been a GameStop on every block. And every turn, there seemed to be a GameStop store. It was like a Blockbuster Video, except you didn't rent from GameStop, you bought. And for all of us that are like video game enthusiasts, you had some sort of connection to this retail store, whether it be EB Games before it was bought by GameStop or GameStop itself. But everybody has some sort of a story or connection to that store. You can try to deny it all you want to, but everybody has been in one. Everybody has shopped in one. And if you're like us and you're a huge video game person, you have pre-ordered with them. You have gone through their motions. And maybe some of y'all, maybe a few, have either worked there at one time, whether you were in school, whether you were part of management, leadership, maybe even on a higher tier. Or some of y'all even still work there to this day. Look, I'm not going to sit there and hate on anybody. I used to work at the store. I used to work at GameStop many years ago. I did work there. I actually started off as an assistant manager, worked my way all the way up to store manager, and ran some stores. I've been there. I know the facets of that company. I was there when it was EB Games until it was bought by GameStop, and the transition happened. I've been there through the high times of GameStop, and I've been there through the low times of GameStop, or the start of the low. So I have been there. I have seen it all. I have experienced it. I was one of those, especially when I started, I was one of those annoying clerks that you ran into when you came into the store. That we talked to you and seemed about a bunch of games that you probably didn't even care about. Hey, look, at the time, especially when it was GameStop and not EB Games anymore, that seemed to be the norm. That was something you had to do. If you didn't do it, you got in a lot of trouble for it. That's why the store really transitioned from less gamers to more salespeople. People that cared about making a sale or getting a number than it was about the video game person in those stores. And I mean, look, and I'm going to kind of explain what's going on with the company. I'm going to kind of explain why I think the company is struggling in certain areas. And maybe some ways that could maybe work on trying to bring it back. Because look, like I said before, we've all had experience there at one time. Whether it be good, whether it be bad. I have friends, close friends of mine right now that I met while I worked at that establishment. There's probably some of those friends that are listening to this show right now. Yes, I'm talking about you. I have dear friends. Even the dearest friend that I lost a week ago. Our good friend Darkstar Merc, who we lost a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago now, week and a half ago. I met him for the first time at GameStop. We all have memories there. Whether shopping experience or working there. But here's what's going on. It's been no secret at all that GameStop has actually been struggling as the gaming market is starting to change. Now look, the gaming market has changed many times before, especially when I was there. There was a lot of changes that company had to go through because video game as a market fluctuates. It changes so often. As fans, we don't really see it that way because we see new experiences, new things, different ways to access those things that are exciting to us. But when you look at retail establishments like GameStop, it's a change that they have to adapt to. It's almost like stripping out what you knew before and implementing something new. And this is where you have to have people that are in position at a higher level to come up with new ways and new ideas to help keep bringing people into your store. Because right now the gaming market is changing to where a lot of things are going digital. There's a lot of things about their sales policies, worker treatments. That stuff has just been recently coming out. That GameStop doesn't treat its people the best. Look, and I'm not going to go out here, I'm not going to come out here and bash the company because, like I said, when early on in my time there, I was treated actually pretty well. But as the downslope started to happen and the shift of what made GameStop great to let me get what I can get started to happen, that's when the caring about their employees dropped off dramatically. And a lot of it's coming from their sales policies. Some of the stuff that they had not even requested, they demanded from their employees on what to do. And this is where the argument happens. Is it in the retail store's best interest or is it in the gamer's best interest? The two actually go hand in hand. You have to appease to the gamer, which then makes your retail establishment want it to be shopped more frequently. And what GameStop has done over the past number of years is they have not really been gamer-centric anymore. They're trying to bring in new people. And look, I understand because the market changes all the time. You decide to go into new avenues to try to help generate revenue. But when you do that, you tend to forget about your core. And your core, especially in the early days, was gamers. And gamers at its core. And that started to dip away and float away and float away and float away to the point that you really didn't even want gamers in your store anymore. At least that's how I felt when I visited some of those establishments late. I haven't been to a Gamestop store in over a year. I haven't bought a product from there in over a year. Not for any kind of personal reasons or anything. To me, I haven't felt the need. Why? Why do I have to? I think that's what GameStop has to do. And to get the story to keep on going so you can understand what's going on here, but the company had to close some stores over the last year. The rise of digital distribution has threatened their business model. And look, we all know what GameStop's business model is. They sell new games, but their bread and butter is those used games. But then comes the argument of their trading values, which I honestly can't defend. Some of them I can defend. Some of them I can't. And then the increase in digital distribution is not helping matters at all. But what GameStop is doing now is they are looking to sell their company. They're in the business of looking for buyers right now. And they're doing it kind of secretly. But somebody had broke an exclusive agreement that they don't want to be named at this time, that GameStop is indeed shopping, so they're looking for somebody to buy it. As of right now, at this very moment, there are no deals in place yet, but yes, there is interest. Their company has hired financial advisors to assist in the discussions. The people who are giving these details do not want to be named because the matters are still private. Sycamore Partners is one of the private equity firms that has expressed interest in GameStop. But there is no guaranteed talks right now. There is interest. There are people pecking around. But there's nothing firm set in place or anything like that. But here's where a lot of this starts to come to fruition of what's going to happen in the future for GameStop. And right now, it doesn't look pretty. This is the same type of avenue that Toys R Us took. And this is going to go in one of two ways. So there's two ways a buyout like this is going to go. Is either the buyer decides to create a short-term profit bump, which is going to have them borrow money heavily against their company's assets, which is not a good thing. And they're going to use that money to try to help flip the company around. Or what they're going to do is they're going to start stripping it away for parts. And what that means, they're going to start closing down stores. Either way you look at it, stores are going to get closed, jobs are going to be lost, and honestly, if you think about it, the only ones that are really going to win from this deal are the ones that tended to get out early. Look at some of the CEOs, the VPs of GameStop that have already left the company. They've moved on. And I was there in its heyday. I knew the VPs. Great guys. When they left, this transition to what they are now started to happen. It wasn't until that leadership had fallen away or left that the company started to go in a different direction, and one that put it into a position that it's in right now. But there's one company that had a very similar avenue that GameStop's about to go down, and that's Toys R Us. What happened to Toys R Us? Bankruptcy proceedings. Now they're in full closure. The main question is going to be is whether GameStop can be saved or not. If you look at it in reality, the company is in a very terrible position right now. And look at what's putting it into a terrible position. First of all, the company is fighting many of the anchor products for new games from its manufacturers, but it's also fighting all big box stores such as Best Buy and Walmart and Amazon, and they're not even like a retail store. Amazon's mainly online. And if you look at those three companies right now, they have bigger pockets than GameStop does. And Amazon, Best Buy, and Walmart all have kind of adapted in ways of doing the used game market. I don't know if Best Buy is still doing it. I haven't seen our Walmart here locally do it. Amazon is still doing it pretty strong. And back in the past October, the company, GameStop that is, actually announced an innovative idea that boiled down to becoming more of a game rental company, where you would sign up for a program and then you would take any game you want home, play it for as long as you want, and then bring it back. It was called the Power Pass. If any of y'all remember, go back and listen to the GSN podcast. I'll have to look for the episode. I might put it in the show notes. But we talked about it. And I thought that was actually a great idea. That's something different. That's thinking outside of the box. And yeah, I'm sure there may be problems with it if you look at it, but in all honesty, that was thinking outside the box of something different, something that would have probably helped. That would have brought a lot more people back to your store that you probably didn't have before. But for some reason, that very next month in November, they canceled the whole idea. And now GameStop's in a position that they have to figure out some very bold moves and do it quickly. I mean, GameStop right now is in a really tough position. And I'm not here to bash on the company. I mean, me personally, like I said before, it's been a long time since I shopped there. I don't have a need to go in there. We do most of ours, especially for the office. All of our shopping is done exclusively online if we don't talk to the publishers themselves. Most of our stuff comes from online, Amazon primarily. And there's a bunch of different avenues that Amazon does that GameStop should adopt. First of all, 20% off new games when you purchase it within, 2 or 3 weeks of release? That's something GameStop, I thought, would have adopted a long time ago. They didn't even think about it. They don't even do that if you pre-order a game. And GameStop got itself into a position when they started leaning more on salespeople than they were on gamers themselves. Now I'm sure there are some GameStop stores out there where the people that work there are true gamers and you can go in there and you can talk to them. But sadly enough, about 70% of GameStops you go into, as soon as you go in there, they're probably jerks that you don't even really want to talk to, or some people that work in there that have no clue about what they're talking about anyway. We've all heard it. We've all been there. We've heard the sales pitches before. I've heard the sales pitch that I used to give a long time ago from people in there now that have no idea what they're talking about. GameStop needs to go back to its core, back to the roots of what made that company great to begin with. There's a lot it can do. It needs to bring back the core audience of gamers. And stop with this stupid stuff that they're bringing into their stores. You walk into a GameStop store now, it's like you shouldn't even be called GameStop anymore. It should be just called Stop. Because you go in there now, you got electronic devices. You got toys galore. And now look, and I'm a collector. I love going in there and seeing a lot of collectibles. But when your collectibles and everything else that you sell overshadows and overpowers the games, that's a problem. I walked into our local GameStop here in town about a year and a half ago. I walked in and was completely shocked. I was like, the whole front of the store was nothing but toys and collectibles. Like I said, I love collectibles, but I don't need 60% of the store to be that. So a little section for electronic devices. Use phones, iPads. Whoever thought that was a good idea needs to be kicked in the face. And then you had to pretty much look and go in much deeper till you found where the games were. I remember when I was there was nothing but games everywhere. You walked in, that's all you saw. You saw a couple of interactives, so you could play an Xbox, you can play a PlayStation, you could play a Nintendo, whatever was out at the time. And then the walls were lined with games. Nintendo had their section, Microsoft had their section, Sony had their section. Not anymore. Not anymore. And GameStop has got to find a way to make the used game market or the trade-in values much more consumer friendly. Because trust me, if you have a customer go to a store with a game that came out a year ago and you offer him $1 for that game, that's not even worth the drive there. I mean, let's be serious. You're going to offer him $1, but then you're going to sell it for what, $14? Sometimes $20? You can't offer him more than $1. You have companies got to look at these things because these things make a difference. Why do you think a majority of your core gamers left? Now, me personally, I don't really trade games in just because, like I said, I'm a collector. I have a lot of games from even past systems that I still have. I will not get rid of. We have a huge collection of games here in the office just because, one, I don't ever know if I'm going to ever go back to them, and I don't want to have to go buy them again. And then the fact that a lot of companies now are doing, Xbox is doing its Game Pass. PlayStation has something very similar set in stone already. That you could pay a fee and play as many games you want that's included on their passes. That hurts. And I don't know what GameStop could do creatively to get around that. But the digital market, they had to figure something out. But they could really make a killing with their used market by either lowering prices, because quite honestly, a brand new title that's come out, you're going to charge $5 less than a new copy. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. And then you only get the person that traded it in, like, what, $15 for it? $20 maybe, if you're lucky? That whole system needs to be reworked and relooked at. And somebody needs to take a really, really good look at it and put the egos aside. And look at what the core audience should be and why your store is named what it is. You can call me anytime, GameStop, the corporation. Trust me, I've worked there before. I've been there through the ups and I've been there through the downs. I've been there through the highs and I've been there through the lows. I know what can work in some avenues. But you need to bring your core audience back. Because right now, they're not shopping there. And I think your sales numbers year over year, and the reason why you're looking for Byers now, is a clear indicator why. But that's just my opinion on GameStop. I would love to know what your guys' thoughts and opinions are on the GameStop's shopping for Byers right now. If you just put them in the comments section, you can send it to us on our Twitter account. Or on Podbean, iOS, whatever device you're listening to on. I would greatly appreciate it. But now let's go back and take a look at E3. I want to give out my quick games of the show. So let's take a look at who kicked the show off, and that was EA. My game for EA was Battlefield 5. Why? Because I didn't really see much of anything else that they had to offer. What was I going to give it to? Unravel 2? Honestly, I was looking more forward to Battlefield 5 than anything that they showed. Looking at Microsoft, their game of the show to me was Cyberpunk 2077. That game looks incredible. I don't know when it'll be out, but from what I've seen of it so far, it looks good. From what I'm hearing from people with behind closed doors and stuff like that with it, looks great. And I do hope that this game comes out within the next year. At least by fall of next year, I would like to see this game come out. My game of the show for Bethesda was Fallout 76. That's a no-brainer. An online-only, multiplayer, co-op Fallout game, I'm all in. And there are atomic bomb silos throughout the map. You ain't got to sell me no more. Square Enix was a little bit tough. It was kind of a toss-up between Shadows of Tomb Raider and Kingdom Hearts 3. I think Kingdom Hearts is going to be great. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. What they showed at the Square Enix show, as opposed to what they showed at the Sony show, were vastly different. I thought they presented better at the Sony show than they did at their own press conference. That's why I had to go with Shadow of the Tomb Raider for Square Enix. Because one, I already know what I'm getting. I mean, Tomb Raider looks good. The last two have been great. I'm looking forward to seeing where this one's going to go. My game of the show for Ubisoft was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, I know some of y'all were like, Beyond Good and Evil looked good. It really, really did. I want a release date for that game. I really, really do. As excited as I am for that game, I really want a release date. I want to know when it's coming out. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. Assassin's Creed Odyssey looked so much better than I was expecting it to look. I don't know why I went into the game with such low expectations of it. I was not excited for it at all. Even when I heard the announcement, I was like, okay, another Assassin's Creed game. That's great. Don't really care. And then I saw it. And I was like, this is not your typical Assassin's Creed. In all honesty, they could have probably just called this game Odyssey and left out Assassin's Creed altogether. This game actually looks really, really good and plays well. The game of the show for Sony, to me, was Marvel's Spider-Man. I mean, come on now. It's one of the only couple games that they showed that actually had a release date, and it's coming this year. I mean, Last of Us 2 looked good. I was excited for it. The new Sucker Punch Warrior game, man, that looks beautiful. I can't wait to get my hands on that. But there's something about the Marvel Spider-Man and how it looks and plays very Arkham-like. And I love that because I love the Arkham games. And I think a Spider-Man game kind of in that realm is fantastic. Plus, you got a good glimpse of at least 5 of the villains in that game. One more they still haven't even talked about yet or revealed. My game of the show for Nintendo was, any question here? Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I was 70% of its show anyway. How can you not be excited for Ultimate? Every Smash Bros. Character that has ever been in the Smash Bros. Game is in this one. I'm sold. Now let's look at these 3 categories. We're going to go with biggest surprise of the show, biggest disappointment, and our game of the show. The biggest surprise for me, because there was so few surprises at E3 this year because of all the leaks and early releases and stuff like that prior to the show, that I have to say my biggest surprise was Resident Evil 2, the remake. The one that they showed at the Sony press conference. As soon as I saw what was going on and saw Leon for the first time, I about shouted in my chair. I was hyped. I was so ready to play that game. I wanted to play that game so badly. As they were showing it on the stage, I was like, I want this game now. And the even better news at the end when they had the release date for January of 2019, it's the first of the year. I'm okay with that. It means I don't have to wait so long for this game to come out. It's honestly, what, almost 6 months away now? 7 months maybe? Man, I can't wait to play Resident Evil 2. Now let's look at my biggest disappointment of the game, of the show. And this entire list is up on our website, by the way. You can look at all these here. We got the box art and then what the category is. But my biggest disappointment of the show was Death Stranding. And I know some of y'all are like, really? Yes. You know why? Because I sat there and I watched the entire trailer, gameplay and all. And I am even more lost than I was when I went into the show to begin with. I have no clue on what that game is about. I have no idea what I'm watching. There was hardly any action sequences at all. I saw a whole lot of walking. Now, I know it's a Kojima game. There's going to be some sort of a twist to it. It's going to have a great story to go along with it. This I know. But what I saw at the show did not leave me extremely excited. Not to mention there was no date for the game. And I honestly do not think we're going to see this game until the next generation. I just have a really sickening feeling that we're not going to see it till then. But what I saw from the gameplay did not impress me. I mean, look, the graphics look great. The character models look fantastic. But I am so confused on what it is. It looked like a walking simulator from what I saw from the trailer. I'll be quite honest with you. I was lost. I had no clue on what the game was about or what direction they were going to go in with the story. Not a clue. And I hope later on down the line or very, very soon, they start to unravel a little bit more what that game is actually about. Give me some sort of a synopsis. Right now, I have the foggiest idea. I couldn't even begin to try to put together a comprehensive explanation of what I've seen from the first teaser trailer to the one I saw now. I couldn't give you one, unfortunately. And I love Kojima. Now, my game of the show was my surprise from the Xbox show. And I love Gears. I really, really do. And I'm sure a lot of you guys that know me personally are going to be like, your game of the show has got to be Gears 5 or Gears Pop or Gears Tactics because I'm such a big Gears head. But honestly, it wasn't. My game of the show was Cyberpunk 2077. I look at that trailer and I look at everything about that game and I get more and more excited every time I see something about it. I am really so looking forward to that game coming out. I want it. I really, really do. I'm so looking forward to that game coming out. And because I was a huge fan of the Witcher series. So I already know what kind of gameplay elements they're going to bring to it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Cyberpunk is a first-person game. Am I right? Yeah. It's a first-person game, so it's not even third-person. That's going to be a little bit interesting to see. I kind of want to see how that plays out. Apparently, you cannot switch between a third-person or a first-person perspective in that game. So if you're one of those ones that was expecting the kind of bounce around between the two, you don't have that option. I think it's locked in as a first person, which I'm okay with. I play a lot of FPSs anyway. I'm okay with that. I'm more enthralled with the world of the game. The world looks amazing to be in, and I cannot wait for this game to come out. It will be. I have a feeling this game might come out next fall because they're talking about it will be out this generation, which by Sony's calculator, we only got another couple years left. So I expect this game to be a Christmas or fall of next year release. And I'd be okay with that. Would have really, really loved for it to come out this year, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. CD Projekt Red tends to take a lot of time with their games, and rightfully so. Every game that they have taken their time on has come out to be a fantastic game. So they got my trust. That's why I can hold back and be confident to know that the game that I get when it releases will be a polished product. So that's my show for today. I want to take the time and thank everybody and all of you guys for listening, however you may be listening to us, whether you're on a run and you're listening to me, whether you're driving in your car and you're listening to the show on your way to work or from work, whether you are just out and about, you're on the subway, however you may be listening to us, I greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much. Make sure you comment on this video. Make sure you comment on the podcast itself. Submit a review on iTunes or Google Play. I would greatly appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter at The Game Night Lounge. You can follow me personally on Twitter at KODXFactor. You can follow us on Facebook at The Game Night Lounge. We are also on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, The Game Night Lounge. You can check us out there. We have a bunch of Let's Play videos, the Dynamic Duo videos. This podcast will be up there on YouTube as well, so if you want to listen to it there, you are more than welcome to. And you can follow us at our website at theGameNightLounge.wordpress.com. We are there with all of our latest videos and all of our latest content for everything video game related. I am KODX Factor. This is The Jump Off. We are part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network, and all the guests that appear on this show and future shows are a part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network as well. Until next time, everybody, I am Factor. I am out. Enjoy your video gaming, and until next time, game on.